You're listening to the Live Free podcast. I'm your host, Christine, certified life coach, pain to power mentor, and creator of Embody You Mindset Mastery School. I'm here today to discuss living life after disease, disaster, or adversity, to discuss living life fully once again, a life of hope, peace, and resiliency, a life fully embodied. I utilize the lessons that I learned going through not one, but two primary cancers. I'm here today to guide you to the life of your dreams, turn your pain into power, and lead you back to yourself. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Live Free podcast. So today I want to talk about stress relief, stress reduction, and releasing overwhelm. So this came from a poll that I put on Instagram asking people if they could let me know what it is that they are needing right now. So I gave a couple of different things that you could do, which was stress relief and reduction, obviously, as well as, the empowered entrepreneur or empowering women, or I think relationships was in there, a few of them anyway. And I had an overwhelming response for stress relief and reduction. So I'm going to start here, but trust me, I'm going to get to all of your podcasts. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to pull from a few different things. So I'm going to start off. This episode is going to be a few things. It's going to be tangible tools and tricks for reducing overwhelm, stress, and those sorts of things in the moment when they show up. So I'm going to make sure that I write in the show notes what these tangible tools are so that you can refer to them and keep them in your back pocket for days at work, for days when you're with the kids and you're feeling overwhelmed. These are meant for busy people and for people who, don't have a ton of time. So that's what a lot of these tools are. Some of them will take a little more time and will require you to set aside 5 minutes for yourself, potentially alone. So, this stuff it's 5 minutes, you got to take that time. And then I want to finish with a little bit more of an abstract idea that I teach in my course that is a huge proponent of releasing stress and anxiety and overwhelm and all of these sorts of things. But that requires a little bit of a deeper dive. So that one's going to be just a little bit more of a musing. And then, and a disclaimer here, I will be saying the F word. That is for the purpose of explaining a type of stress relief tool. So if you have any kids in the car, this might not be the episode for you right now. Okay, so let's get started. So the first one for reducing stress and anxiety, overwhelm, is grounding. And I know if you've heard of the term grounding, you've heard it multiple times and you don't totally understand what it is. So grounding can be done multiple different types of ways. The one I most like to do will require some time alone, but there are shorter, quicker ones. So I'll dive into all of that. So the one I most like to do is a visualization. I prefer before I go to bed or when I'm feeling really overwhelmed in the morning. If you're kind of feeling that like morning anxiety sort of emotion, there's a few tools that I'll go through. The first one being grounding with visualization. So what I do is I close my eyes. And I imagine my body rooting as if it were a tree. So growing roots from every portion of my body, from, you know, every joint or whatever works for you, and growing those roots down through the mattress of my bed, encapsulating the entire captain's bed, pulling the carpet closer to the subfloor closer to the foundation, and then it moves down into the basement and through the basement into the earth. That is a visualization that I find is extremely, extremely grounding. Some quicker ones that you can do is quite simply tapping your foot with intention on the ground and feeling that foot hit the ground and feeling that matter below your feet when you hit. Some other ones are tensing your entire body and then releasing. And that emotion of tensing your entire body, it brings you back into the body and gives you this sensation of grounding. Some other ones, depending on where you're from, if you're from Saskatchewan, you laugh every single time somebody says this, but they say, get outside. Which is great for, 5 months out of the year. The rest of the time, maybe don't do this, but get outside barefooted and put your feet onto the earth, feel your toes in the grass, and just really ground down into nature. Another one that you can do, rain or shine, is grounding by going off into nature and just connecting. So connecting with the trees, with the wind, with the movement, and the way that the flowers grow or the ice crystals fall from the trees, whatever it is and wherever you are. That can be very, very grounding. So that's tool number 1. Let's move on to tool number 2. Another one, if I ever wake up with anxiety, is I do the 4-7-8 breathing. And now this is not just for morning time. This is for any time. And it is unbelievably valuable. It works so well. So the 4-7-8 breathing, what that is it's a nervous system slowing breathing, because when we're in a state of stress and overwhelm, we are in a sympathetic nervous system reaction. So our cortisol is moving, our stress hormones are moving around. We're sort of in this fight or flight response. And when you're chronically in this fight or flight response, you are overwhelmed. You're constantly overwhelmed. You constantly feel like you just cannot slow down. So grounding is a huge technique for that, but so is the 4-7-8 breathing. Because what that does is that breathing, it stimulates a parasympathetic response. So it helps to open up a calmer, more rhythmic way of heart. Your heart beats slow, your breath slows, everything slows. Okay, so 4-7-8 is in for 4, hold for 7, and out for 8. So that's in for 4, breathing in, hold at the top, 7 counts, and out for 8. Now, if you're not able to do that, you can try, 3, 6, and 7 breathing and, drop everything by a point if you don't have the capacity to do it. The whole intention is to have a short breath in, a medium time holding, and a longer time breathing out. It's that longer that's really the key here. And what that does is it releases a lot of pent-up stress. It also stimulates that parasympathetic response. And that slows things down for you. So another one that I learned when I used to go to anxiety counseling specifically, I went to group counseling for anxiety, is a visualization for giving your body room for the stress, the overwhelm, the anxiety, whatever it is that's bothering you. And so what that simply is that if you have ever felt anxiety, which if you're human, you have, hopefully for you, it is a passing thing like it was for me. I was able to get to the bottom of it and move away from it, where now it's very temporary and periodic, where, as opposed to chronic. But if it isn't, this is a really, really good tool to add in, whether it is that you are in a chronic state of anxiety or you're just stressed that day. So with this one, you're going to set aside a little bit of time. You're going to sit away from people and you're going to close your eyes, slow your breathing, and picture your body. When you picture your body and the space, the size, the circumference, the amount of our universe that it takes up, this space, and then you picture the anxiety within your body or the stress, and you see how much of your body it's taken up. And when you have moved through that with how much your body has taken up, and it feels tight and it feels like it's pressing against the walls and it's ready to burst out, then quite simply, all you do is take up more space. So you don't try to shove the anxiety down. You don't try to shove the stress or the overwhelm down. You instead create more space within yourself. So you take up more matter, more space in this universe, more air. And as you expand, the anxiety, which has not changed, does not grow with it. It instead becomes a smaller portion of you. This is a really, really good tool that I used often when I was in my dark night of the soul. So that is a beautiful, beautiful tool that I did not expect to share, but it popped into my head. So here we go. Okay, so on to the swear word. So you're welcome to turn it down for 3 minutes if you'd like. So there is a type of therapy coined by John C. Parkin called Fuck It therapy. And that therapy was told to me by my cancer counselor at the cancer clinic while I was going through my treatments. And she said, honestly, it's a funny name, but she said it makes a lot of sense. And so let me tell you the quick background of this Fuck It therapy. So John C. Parkin and his wife, they were meditation gurus. They were they knew all the tricks. They knew the breathing techniques and the groundings and the visualizations and all these sorts of things, and they were really good at it. So they decided that they were going to start a retreat center. And while they were starting the retreat center, things kept going wrong, as it does when you're trying to start a brick and mortar business. And every single time that things would start to go wrong, they would use all of their treatments that they planned on implementing once the treatment center was open. But what ended up happening was that those things were not available to them when they were in really high stress periods. They were available to them when they were in lower stress periods. They were able to find the faculties to come back to their breathing practices and those sorts of things. But when they were in really high stress mode, the only thing that worked was just being like, I don't know, fuck it, like, I don't know. And him and his wife noticed that would help more than a lot of their breathing practices. So what they ended up doing is they switched the entire trajectory of the center to, instead of a your typical health type center, they created the Fuck It Therapy Center, and then they wrote a book, Profane Way to Happiness. And I highly recommend the book. It's an awesome book. But outside of that, it's just a really cool way of looking at things. when we are in extreme stress, like I'd love to say that you're going to sit down and journal, but you're probably not. You're in go mode. You're just in complete, you can't do this anymore. So, bringing up this idea of just, I don't know, fuck it, is such a, when it's purposeful, is such a great way to slow the mind and to release and to say, you know what, I'm done. I'm not going to deal with this. And today's not today. Maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, I'll deal with the emotional impact of this, but not today. Today, I'm going to relax. And then to do that, and it explains much better in the book, but to do that with a non-shame intention, to say like, I'm gonna run through this therapy, but I'm not gonna say to myself after sitting down to watch that movie, I shouldn't have done that. That's the really, really important key here. So that's a really beautiful addition to when you just can't handle it. When I was moving through some of my chemo treatments and those sorts of things, there were not days where I was willing to go through my 4-7-8 breathing or do my grounding exercise or anything like that. I was needing to just not. And so that therapy was such an amazing addition and such an easy concept to everything that I was going through, because sometimes you just don't need to. Today is not the day. If you're going through a divorce and you're in the height and the thick of it, that is not the time for you to be learning, all of the good lessons. Like, no, it's time for you to say F it and say, I'm gonna intentionally rest now. So that's a really big one as well. Okay, so lots of tools for you here, and I'm running out of time. So another really good one is Ecstatic Dance. It is basically just dancing without any resolve. It's dancing without any rhythm. It's dancing without any thought. It's just following the music. And if you're angry, then it might be angry music. If you're happy, it might be happy. Whatever it is that you're going through, ecstatic dance is going to help. Now, most people, they are not interested in vibrating around and jostling around and waving their arms and moving quickly and up and down and swaying and throwing their face everywhere and those sorts of things, because they think they look like one of those crazy, really high people at a music festival who are like on way too many drugs and they don't want to be that person. Well, I'm sorry to tell you that the reason that person is so damn happy is, well, for two reasons, but one of them is because of the ecstatic dance. So if you can steal away, if you can close the blinds, if you can be alone and just do it, you will thank me. Do the ecstatic dance. Just feel the music and let yourself go. Stop thinking. Become childlike. And instead of being this adult who needs to calculate every single move or be sexy or be this or be that, just follow. Just flow. And you will find, and this is a guarantee, I will eat my left shoe if I'm incorrect here. This is a guarantee, your mood will change. If you need your mood to change, go ecstatic dance. I'm telling you now, it will work. Actually, and as I'm saying that, I'm like, wait a minute. I know exactly what I'm going to do before the next flight to calm myself down. I'm going to ecstatic dance before I go to bed. Boom. Because last time I had to do a flight, I was up till like 3 a.m, knowing that I have a flight in the morning, but because I was in such of this mode of like, oh my God, I need to get some sleep. I need to. I couldn't sleep, right? So ecstatic dance, it's a must. Okay, so now I'm going to pull in a little bit of, actually, no, sorry. I'm going to finish here while I'm on the music train. Finally, there is, in this quadrant anyway, there is sound therapy. So sound therapies can be multiple different sounds. It can be the sounds of a singing bowl or a tingshaw, or a binaural beat, which is, you can YouTube it, it's brain frequencies. All of those sort of softer sounds. Or it can be uplifting music, something that makes you feel happy. Think Pharrell here. Or finally, and one that you probably haven't heard of or done often, is screaming therapy. And that truly is what you think it is. It is screaming into your pillow. It is screaming in your car while you're driving. It is that exhalation of all of the pent-up frustration, overwhelm, stress, and all of those types of things. And it's kind of a resounding bleh. And the louder that you can make that, the better it feels. Okay. All right. So for my final tool, I would like to pull in some yoga, some of my yoga teacher training. And that one is diaphragmatic breath, also known as Ujjayi breathing, also known as the ocean breath. And what that is, and I should have paired it with the 4-7-8 breathing, but anyway, it is another form of breath work where you use the sound of the ocean using your breath. So what you're going to do is you're going to close your mouth and you're going to breathe in through your nose and then breathe out through what kind of feels like your mouth. And what that's going to do is it's going to give you this this ocean sound. Now, you're not actually going to breathe out through your mouth because your mouth is closed, but you will breathe out through your nose using the lower portion of your breath that you possibly can, as close to your mouth and throat as you can. So you'll hear here, I'm going to close my mouth and I'm going to breathe in with my nose and then I'll breathe out with my mouth and you will hear this ocean breath. Okay. So my mouth was closed the entire time, but yet using the lower portion of my throat while breathing out through my nose, it made an ocean breath sound. And what it is it expands your belly as you breathe in and it contracts your belly as you breathe out. That ocean breath brings you back to a more present state because you're so focused on making the sound of the breath. It also stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system because it is a longer out breath, as well as because you're using this diaphragmatic breathing, so as opposed to breathing from your chest and shoulders, you're instead breathing from your belly. That is also going to slow down your sympathetic response and your stress response. So that is all of the tools that I can give you today. I try to keep my podcasts to right around 20-25 minutes. So I'm just going to touch on the final step and the most important step, but this is another podcast for another day. And so that one is quite simply changing your stories around the experience that you are having. So in the short form, it's flipping what you are telling yourself and about your stress. So if you say, "Oh, I'm always busy no matter what. I can't handle it. My boss wants everything, my family wants everything, and I just do not have time for anything, and that's why I'm stressed and overwhelmed." It is important to realize that the story that you're telling yourself is perpetuating the issue. Okay? So there are a lot of steps to this, but the short form is that if you want your busy schedule to be more fluid and more relaxed, stop telling yourself the story, number one. Second, replace it with a new story, one that makes sense to you. Now, you can't just say, "I'm never busy," because that doesn't feel true to you. But you can say instead, "I am very good at prioritizing." And if that's true for you, then start to create that as a new story for yourself. And then as that goes, you can start to shift into a space where you don't say that you are busy all the time. So as I say, this is an entire another podcast, and not even that. We spend 2 weeks on this, so we dive a lot deeper into all of the little nuances of this. But the short form is that if you have stories telling yourself that you are busy and that you are stressed and you are overwhelmed for this, that, and the other reason, realize that the stories that you're telling yourself are perpetuating the issue. So the question that I have for you is that would you like to continue to live in this space of stress so that you can identify with your story? Or are you willing to make that change so that you are no longer in this space of stress, so that you are no longer chronically overwhelmed? I understand that it's hard and difficult to move away from your victimization that says, no, I'm important because of this. But it is causing only you pain, and I don't want to see you in pain anymore. Okay, so that is all of my tips, tricks, tools, and finally a nuanced idea to pop into your head on how you can start to release stress and overwhelm and anxiety. I hope that these were helpful. Like I said, I will write them down, and I feel that this will probably be a continuation podcast, that there will be another time where I need to redo this because there's just so much here. But it is such a powerful, just about a half an hour to listen to over and over again and to try to implement into your life, because these things have helped me so much, and I know they will help you. So I hope that you have a gorgeous and beautiful day, and we will talk again soon.
Thank you so much for listening. If you found expansion with this last episode, then that means that others will too. And the best way to get the word out about the podcast is by leaving a review. I would be so grateful if you could leave me a review and let me know how you felt about the podcast. Included in the show notes will be everything that we talked about today, including all of my transformative programs. Change is just on the horizon, my friend.